Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another Let's Build episode. Today we're going to build an arena and I'm just going to give you guys a little rundown on how it works as well. Because there are a few little glitches and bugs, so I'm just going to try and explain some of the do's and don'ts as we build. So this is what I came up with just as a quick first starter arena, and it consists of about 4 cages but only 3 main fighter cages. Okay, so this one's just a spare, so you can use it for whatever you want. You can put an extra door in and just create an extra fighter cage, or just really whatever you like. And up top here we have your own little private spectators box, but we'll get to that shortly. I've added on a little fusion generator here and just kind of confined it in a little box, just makes it look pretty neat and tidy. And they're pretty good because they add about 100 power to each individual one. They're pretty expensive in resources, but I think they're well worth it. And very useful for all of your settlements really. This is going to save us putting generators kind of everywhere, all over the place. So over here we've got the red team and we've got the blue team on the opposite side. I've got switches on all powered doors, and inside we've got the platforms. We're actually move them platforms into the arena at some point. And up the top we have just like little spectating rooms. Okay, I'm not sure how effective these are. I've only ever had one settler spectate during an arena fight, so I'm not sure if there's a trick to this, but I'm sure I'll work it out soon enough. At one end we're going to have our own personal little private spectating box here with all our switches just for convenience. So it's got a little bit of a throne here. You don't have to sort of elevate your chair up like I did. You can just put a chair in there, it all works the same, but you can pretty much just see everything from here, and you've got all your individual switches for each individual door, and I've just labeled them with red, blue, or I put an S just for like a special room where you can have maybe a bunch of hounds or creatures or whatever you want. So this just allows you to be in full control of all of the fights. You've got the quitting siren and the beacon and all that in the same place as well. Of course we're going to get rid of the stairs, it's not always going to be here, it's just my way of getting in and out at the moment. I've got some little Colosseum style kind of pillars at the top there, which are not purely cosmetic. This is actually used to power the center door, because I was having a few issues with some wires powering the other wires when they weren't supposed to. So we've also got the quitting siren here and the beacon just to our other side. And so if we head on over to the other side, we've got the blue team, which is exactly the same as the red, but the special cage is going to be just a little bit different. Now I've decided to put caged hounds in here. You can really put whatever type of creature you want. I just put hounds as just an extra sort of additive, so maybe halfway through a fight you could release the hounds as just an extra little feature. Now the only difference here is that I've just set it up to have it all powered by this one generator, but it goes up through the roof just here, and there you have your switch to power the cages on and off, because in order to release anything out of its cages you have to disengage the power to the cage, and that's what's sort of going on right here. And the reason I do this is just so it just allows me to shut the door from here, that way everything's sort of trapped in there, and then I just go up here and I release the cages. Okay, this just makes it a little bit easier, because this way you don't have to sort of hit the switch to release the cages inside and then worry about getting out in time, because if you don't do it quick enough, what you will find is that nearby settlers will come over, and even if you shut the door they'll bust in there and pretty much take everything out. So it is very important to keep anything that's caged sort of caged up away from everything else. I've added a turret system to the arena, so just around the outside I've just added these little round walls here to create some platforms just for, I don't know where exactly you would put the arena in your settlement, which is also another reason why I'm showing you the smaller Octagon arena version, just mainly because after your essentials and stuff like that you're going to have limited space. So this is just a small one for you guys, and when we start building I'll show you how to make the bigger version as well. Also I would suggest just really taking advantage of the aesthetic content that we have now, putting up heaps of signs, lighting, stuff like that. I've done a lot of that with mine. I've made a slightly bigger version, and it just looks really good and works really well. So let's go ahead and let's get started. First things first is you're going to need to build yourself a platform, because you want this to be nice and flat. So you need a 10 by 10 foundation platform. I would suggest using the new ones from the Workshop DLC. Just for now, I'm just going to use these. Okay. So what we need is we need an angled wall to start off with, and what we need first is we want to build from 4 across, okay, and on the 5th one we want to go sort of near the center, okay, not necessarily near the center but pretty close. Now the way I've worked this out is we want this bit right here to be in the very center of the 5th and 6th foundation across, okay, because this is the very dead center. So we're going to snap one more of these just next to it, and then we're going to go ahead and put another angled wall piece in just next to it. Okay, now you need to find the bigger end has to face in. Okay, if you look at the side of the angled walls, one of the angled parts will be bigger than the other, so you want that facing inside, and this just allows us to create a bit of a corner here where if we grab some smaller walls, we can just snap them straight onto. Now I use 3 for this this wall here. Now you can use 4 if you want to make it bigger. Only problem is with the octagon shape, the bigger you go, the squarer it kind of gets. So I wouldn't go too much bigger than 4. And then what we're going to have now is we're pretty much going to be doing the same thing we did at the start there. So we use our angled wall here, okay, and then we do the same thing, so we're going to add a couple of curved walls there. Sorry, I did forget to mention that the 3rd wall in the middle here, 2nd wall, sorry, has to be a door piece, because this is going to be the entrance to, well, 2 of our cages just for now. So, like I said, same thing again here, we put our curved walls in, and we just use these curved walls to work our way around. So it is pretty much the exact same concept as the first, and you just keep doing this the whole way around, and if everything snapped together perfectly, then they will just all fit together perfectly. And the best thing about, you know, things being symmetrical is just everything just tends to fit a lot better. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. Use our curved walls, and these are just our turret platforms. You don't have to have these, of course, but it does kind of fix that gap we have between the 2 angled walls here. And another thing to look out for is that when this happens, it's generally because one of the curved walls is snapped a little too far over, so just go ahead and pull it back a little bit. It's getting a bit dark, so I'm just going to go ahead and get us some better lighting, and not that that's that much better, but it'll do for now. So what we're doing now is we're basically just putting the exact same prefabs on top of each other, okay, and they snap together pretty well. And we're just going to go around, we're just going to do the entire thing. And once you've done that, we're just going to then go ahead and we're going to put some little round floors in the little turret platform sections. So place all of those in, and then now we're just going to go right ahead and start building our cages. Okay, this is where we're going to contain our fighters and creatures. So we just use the angled walls here, and we just want to, what we'll do is it's easier just to go around like this and do the left side on each turret platform section. Okay, and then what we can do is we can just then swing it around and then do the right side. Okay, they should snap in quite well. And then now what we need to do is grab these normal walls, and we're going to run these straight across. Okay, they should fit in perfectly, and we're still not going to quite have the octagon shape, but I'll show you how we do that after. So go ahead, just place all of these in, and now what we do is we use the angled pieces here to create just a bit more of an octagon shape. Okay, so these should just fit in reasonably flush. I think they'll be just a little shorter on one side, and that side I always try to keep symmetrical on both sides. Okay, not really important, but you know, I just think it just looks a little better that way. So now we have the octagon shape. Now what we do is just put a stairs in here, because we're gonna have to try and work from the top, and what we need to do is put floors in here. I use the see-through floors here. I just think they add to a better cage kind of theme, and it's just pretty cool being able to look down at your fighters or your creatures and whatnot. So we're going to put them in there, and then what we use for the edges here, actually just first, just remember we're going to have to actually have doors here, but we're going to have powered doors, so you don't really need to bother putting doors in for now. We'll just wait till we get the top of it finished and we sort of get started. So once you've placed your floors in, just like I have, we use these corner pieces, the new Wasteland pieces. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to drop the floor down pretty shortly. Just for now, I'm just going to put them in where they need to go, and then I can just drop them all down using a much easier method. So it's a lot harder to do it from the top. I do find that it is much easier to do it from underneath, so I'm just going to leave them where they are for now and just drop them all after. So finish off the other side here, and then what we do is pretty much just work our way to the other side and do the exact same thing. As you go along, it might be a little more convenient to put your walls in as you're going, so I use the kind of mesh screen for the middle there, and then just put 2 solid walls on either side. Now we're going to have some angled walls that go in here as well, because it's pretty much the same concept of what we did on the outside, of just putting the same prefabs on, only we're just adding a screen to the middle section there rather than a door. So just put that on there, and then all you have to do is just pretty much grab a prefab and run through it. So just continue on and complete the same steps. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to keep skipping some segments, so that way you guys don't have to sit there and watch me repeat the same steps over and over. So now we just need to add our angled walls on top of our originals, so just want to make sure they line up, of course, and it's just going to basically give us our complete cage. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to now put our doors in. Now just remember that wherever you're going to have your spectators box, whichever cage you use, you want your red and blue to be either side, so left and right of it. Okay, and then of course you have the special one straight across from your actual spectating box. So what I've done here is I use the appropriate doors. I have red with the red cage, blue with the blue cage, which is pretty obvious, I guess. Now just place them in as close as you can to the walls adjacent to it, because what we're going to do is we're going to power them at some point, but what we need to do is actually put these little pillar pieces, or I don't know what you call them, maybe just small walls, I guess, and we're going to place them in like little archways. Okay, this will allow us to also cover up the power conduit when we flip the walls around, as well as the fact that it's also going to cover the cracks in the gaps between the door and the walls themselves. So this one here, we're just going to put a wall in because this is my spectators box. Okay, so we're actually going to bring this out a tiny bit, and we're just going to kind of pronounce that wall a little bit, just so we can kind of put the spectators box out a little bit, but not too much to the point where you won't be able to see what's below you. So we do this by just adding another wall onto it. Okay, it should just snap right next to it, and then we put our pillars around the outside here. Okay, all the way up, and it's just creating a little box that kind of sticks out a little bit. You can make it stick out a little bit more, but if you have arena fighters right below you, you're probably not going to see them. So we'll start working on the spectators box now, and I'm going to use doors here because we're actually going to use these doors to put switches in as well. Okay, so I want to kind of keep the access to switches all from the main spectators box. It's just going to give you the full control of everything during each fight. Okay, so put one more door just in here. This is obviously how you're going to get into it. So we'll start putting a kind of stairway entrance to the top here, and we'll do this by just adding 2 small floors and then 1 big floor in the middle, and a couple of staircases either side, and then we're just going to put a couple of supports in just underneath the balcony section. Okay, so just run some rails around for now. I should only need about 4, and then we'll just use a little trick I use to moving things around, okay, because that won't actually snap in like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a wall in, and then we're going to grab the small pillar type concrete wall again and put it next to it, and then do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now this just gives us some little supports there, just so it just looks a little better. So now you just want to go ahead and do that on all floors. Okay, so every single cage we're just going to do the exact same thing, and once you've done that, we're just going to go ahead, head back to the spectators box, and we're going to start putting the ceilings in now. So the only difference with this one is that you just put the floor and roof one in the top here, and then we're just going to use the same ones as normal for the rest. Okay, so this is much like what we did earlier when we were doing the floors we're standing on right now. It's just the you can use the see-through floors if you want, or you can use the non-see-through. It really doesn't matter. You're not going to need it up the top here, but I just put them in anyway. So it's just another case of rinse and repeat. So you just, once you get to the corners here, you're just going to throw your little corner pieces in just like we did earlier, and we're basically just going to go around and do all of them. Once you've done that, we're just going to go around and put our pillars in. Okay, these are actually pretty important because we need to run our wires off them. So just run around like I'm doing. It's not easy working up here, but you know, you just kind of got to deal with it, I guess. So we're placing these pretty much at the end of our angled wall pieces. Okay, so they will snap in just next to it, right there. And then now you should pretty much have the base structure. Okay, this is now the time when you need to start thinking about whether you want to put large cages in your arena, because they won't actually fit in the confined spaces that we have at the moment. So if you take a look at my arena currently at the moment, I've just made little confined spaces for the large cages that fit in perfectly. Okay, now this does take a lot longer, and I didn't add it to the actual building guide, just for the main reason that it is quite time consuming, and there's just a lot to explain here. So I'll just go over it really quickly, and what I've done is use the angled walls here to give it kind of a straight finish, and then at the very end here I've just lined up some half walls with the one behind it. So it's basically the same design, only I've put these walls in here. But in order to do that, I wasn't able to put floor in perfectly, so what I've done is I've straightened these walls up also, which are the ones that go to the blue and red arenas. Okay, now I'll show you from the top to give you a better idea as well. But first we'll just go up to the spectating room here, and you can just see what I've done. That's what it used to look like, and now it's just a straight wall. So I guess a little bit technical here, because now you're going to need a separate track of wire for each cage, okay, which I just run mine underneath the blue and red, and I run them straight off these pillars right here. And as you can see from the top, all I've done is change the shape from the middle room here, so it's almost still identical, only I put these straight walls in and you have these spaces in between them. So just something to think about before you proceed much further. Now, back to the arena, I put the much larger rails in here with just the smaller ones in the middle, and then now we're just going to go ahead and start wiring a few things up. So we're going to wire our doors up to begin with, working on the blue and the red, and this is just a very simple process of running a wire from the very top down to the door. Okay, you can do this any way you like. For the special door, it's going to be just slightly different, so pretty much the same as the blue and red, only we're going to run a conduit up to the pillar. Okay, only because we need this one to be higher than the red, of course, because if we run them too close together, you will find that you will have powering issues, and sometimes the red switch will open the white door, and so forth. For the blue and red doors, we're just going to place conduits like this, okay, because this is where they're going to power from, and then we're going to have power coming from the roof to our switches. So these are for our switches, the other two are for the doors. So now we'll place our switches in. This one's going to be the blue, of course, and the red on the left. And then what we're now going to do is we're going to first we'll just line these up. We're going to attach the top roof one to the switch, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to attach the other one separately, okay? They have to be separate, otherwise your doors are going to be powered all the time. So one powered wire to your switch, and then another wire going to your door. Okay, so this is just so you can power your doors and so forth. So we're going to do the same thing here, and we're going to just take these doors out. I think I did mention not to put these in, so you might not have to do this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put some power doors in here, and we're going to try and keep them color coordinated as well. Okay, it's just going to make it a little easier from the outside to recognize which cage is which cage. So just run around, put some pillars in just like we did on the inside of the arena. And once you finish that, we're just going to add some switches here to power the door, and then we're just going to run power to our switches. Okay, very simple, very basic. I probably don't need to show you guys how to do that. But for anyone who doesn't know, I just run power out the side here to the roof, and then I just run a complete wire around the entire structure, and then just run a fusion generator to any one of the conduits. You can really put your fusion generators anywhere, doesn't matter. I'm just going to put it here for now, and I'm just going to just box it in. That's one good thing about these concrete prefabs, they do work really well in forcing them in places and covering things up. So that should do me just there. And then we just run power to the very top, and then I just put these under the doorway, and you just run them around any way you can really. They're just as neat and tidy as you can. And then from one of your door conduits just here, we're going to run our main power to the spectator's box. Okay, so I just put two separate conduits up the top here, and then run an individual wire off each, and then just run them straight to our switches. And now you should have two working doors on both your blue and red team. And now you're probably going to want to go ahead and power up your special door, or just center door I'll call it, and just do this by running a wire across the top of the pillars here, and then down into the spectator's box, where you'll have another switch down there as well, separately. You can do this by simply holding the select button to extend it out a little bit, and then just lining it up from a distance. Okay, and you just keep jumping from different rooftop to different rooftop. However, I think I can get one from here, and that looks pretty good. Okay, and then you just do this the whole way around. And finally, we're going to go wire up our creature room here. Now I think small and medium cages fit quite nice. The larger ones, like I said earlier, you're probably going to have to build something different there. So our wire goes up through the roof here, and then the switch sends power down to our cages. Okay, and this is just done by adding a circular piece, floor piece, and then just leaving yourself a little gap to run some wires through. This goes off the exact same concept of just ensuring that you have power going to your switch, and then just a separate wire from your switch to the cages. And just make sure that your fighter platforms are inside the arena. Okay, don't leave them inside the cages, because the fighters or creatures that you assign to each individual platform will need to see each other in order to engage. In order for this to be effective, you're going to have to take out this one wall. Okay, and it's going to always be the wall closest to the spectator's box, and you have to do it on the left and the right. And we're just going to put a window in here. Okay, the reason why we put the window in is just because when we bring our fighter into the little confined cage here, we're going to need to assign that fighter to the platform which will be inside the arena. This is going to allow you to select both the fighter and the platform from the very outside here. So what's then going to happen is that when you release the red or blue door, okay, that fighter will go to its corresponding platform. So when both are released, they'll both go to their platform, and they'll both be able to see each other. There may be a number of different ways to make your own fighters engage each other, but this is just one I'm familiar with, and you know, like I say in all my videos, you can always tweak it the way you like. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up right there. That's the basic structure and design. I would allow at least 3 hours for this. Okay, it can be a pretty complex design, but it's pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. And that's why I make these videos, is to just basically generate ideas for you guys, or just give you a guide to follow. I do apologize for the slightly dull commentary. It is like 5 AM here, and yeah, it's really the only time I have to make these videos, so pretty soon I'll have a lot more time for YouTube, so I won't have to do this so early in the morning. I really hope you guys found something you liked here, and if you did, just please hit that like button for me. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.